What drives a being to hunt across galaxies, seeking the ultimate prey? The predator isn't just another movie monster. It's a reflection of our deepest psychological fears. This ancient hunter follows a code older than human civilization. But what lies beneath that alien mask? Today, we dive into the mind of cinema's most honorable hunter and discover why the Yotya terrifies us on a primal level that goes far beyond simple violence. In 1987, audiences first encountered something extraordinary in the jungles of Central America. But the predator's story begins long before Dutch and his team ever set foot in that hostile terrain. The Yotya species evolved on a harsh world where only the strongest survived, developing a culture built entirely around the concept of the hunt. Their society isn't driven by conquest or expansion like human empires. It's structured around proving individual worth through ritualized hunting. From a psychological perspective, the predator represents what Carl Jung called the shadow, the primal, instinctual part of the psyche that civilized society tries to suppress. Unlike human hunters who evolved beyond their predatory instincts through agriculture and cooperation, the Yotya embraced and refined these impulses into an art form. They developed technology not to escape their nature, but to perfect it. The predator's honor code isn't arbitrary. It's a sophisticated, psychological framework that prevents their hunting instincts from devolving into mindless aggression. They won't target the unarmed, pregnant, or sick because there's no psychological satisfaction in an unfair victory. This selectivity reveals something profound. Even apex predators need rules to maintain their sense of purpose and identity. What makes the predator truly fascinating is how it mirrors human psychology. We fear it not because it's alien, but because we recognize something familiar in its drive for dominance and recognition. But there was something about this particular hunter that nobody saw coming. The jungle became a laboratory for psychological warfare when the predator encountered Dutch's team. Here, we witness the moment when two apex predator mindsets collide: human military training versus alien hunting instinct. The predator's initial confidence stems from centuries of successful hunts against various species across the galaxy. But humans present a unique psychological challenge. From the predator's perspective, humans occupy a fascinating middle ground. We're not the strongest species it has encountered, nor the most technologically advanced, but we possess something rare: adaptability combined with desperation. When cornered, humans don't just fight, we innovate. We use our environment, we form alliances, and most importantly, we learn from our mistakes faster than most species. The psychological rupture occurs when the predator realizes its usual hunting patterns aren't working. Dutch's team doesn't behave like typical prey. They set traps, coordinate attacks, and most disturbing to the predator's worldview, they show no fear once they understand what they're facing. This challenges the predator's fundamental belief system about the nature of the hunt. Behavioral psychology tells us that when established patterns fail, it creates cognitive dissonance, a mental discomfort that demands resolution. The predator's response is fascinating. Rather than retreating or changing tactics completely, it escalates. It begins using more advanced technology and abandons some of its honor code restrictions. This represents a psychological shift from ritualized hunting to genuine threat response. The mud scene represents more than just camouflage. It's a moment of psychological reversal where Dutch adopts the predator's own stealth tactics. And it was there that everything began to unravel for our alien hunter. As the hunt progresses, we witness the predator's psychological transformation from confident hunter to frustrated warrior. The creature's mental state becomes increasingly erratic as its established patterns fail. In psychology, this is known as extinction burst. When a previously successful behavior stops working, there's typically an initial increase in the intensity of that behavior before adaptation occurs. The predator's use of mimicked human voices isn't just tactical. It's psychological warfare at its most sophisticated. By replaying the final words of victims, the creature weaponizes grief and trauma. This behavior reveals a deep understanding of human emotional vulnerabilities, suggesting the Yautja have studied not just our physical capabilities, but our psychological weaknesses across multiple encounters. What's particularly disturbing is how the predator's technology reflects its mental state. The thermal vision isolates living beings from their environment, reducing complex individuals to heat signatures, prey markers. This technological augmentation doesn't just enhance hunting ability. It psychologically distances the predator from recognizing the full humanity of its targets. It's a form of moral disengagement that prevents empathy from interfering with the hunt. The predator's escalating violations of its own code, targeting unarmed individuals, using explosives, pursuing wounded prey, indicate a creature under severe psychological stress. Each broken rule represents a step away from its cultural identity and towards something more primal and dangerous. The honor system that defines Yautja society begins cracking under the pressure of repeated failure. Neuroscience shows us that when core beliefs are challenged, the brain often doubles down on familiar patterns before accepting new information. The predator's increasing aggression isn't madness. It's a logical response to cognitive dissonance. But the true monster was still dormant, waiting to emerge. The moment Dutch removes his weapons and challenges the predator to single combat represents a psychological watershed for both characters. For the predator, this is simultaneously validation of its worldview and its complete destruction. A worthy opponent has finally emerged, but in a way that makes the entire preceding hunt meaningless. From the predator's psychological perspective, Dutch's challenge creates an impossible paradox. Accepting means admitting that all previous tactics were dishonorable. Refusing means acknowledging fear of a lesser species. This cognitive paradox forces the predator into its most primal state, stripping away technology, armor, and sophisticated hunting tools to engage in pure physical combat. This moment reveals the psychological core of the Yautja species. Beneath all their technology and honor codes lies the same fundamental drive that motivated early human hunters: the need to prove individual worth through physical dominance. The predator's acceptance of Dutch's challenge isn't noble, it's compulsive. It literally cannot conceive of existing without proving its superiority. The psychological implications are profound. The predator's entire identity structure is built around being the apex hunter. When faced with genuine challenge to this identity, it chooses potential self-destruction over admitting limitations. This isn't courage, it's psychological dependency. The hunt isn't just what the predator does. It's what the predator is. What makes this even more disturbing is the realization that Dutch has intuited the predator's psychological weakness. By appealing to its honor code, Dutch manipulates the creature into abandoning its technological advantages. He essentially uses the predator's own psychology against it, turning strength into vulnerability. The question becomes, if intelligence can overcome instinct, what does that say about the nature of true evolution? The predator's final defeat reveals something chilling about predator psychology across species. Studies in behavioral ecology show that apex predators often struggle when their established hunting patterns encounter novel challenges. The predator's downfall isn't random. It is the inevitable result of psychological rigidity meeting adaptive intelligence. From a neuropsychological perspective, the predator's brain likely developed along evolutionary paths that prioritize pattern recognition and tactical planning for hunting scenarios. However, this specialization becomes a weakness when facing prey that breaks expected behavioral patterns. Dutch's survival strategies, using mud for camouflage, creating primitive traps, psychological manipulation, represent cognitive flexibility that the predator's specialized neural architecture struggles to counter. The creature's self-destruction sequence provides the most revealing glimpse into yacha psychology. Rather than face capture or interrogation, the predator chooses complete obliteration. This isn't just about protecting technology or clan secrets. It's about preserving psychological integrity. Capture would represent the ultimate failure for a creature whose entire identity revolves around hunting supremacy. Research in comparative psychology suggests that species with highly specialized behavioral patterns often exhibit this type of all-or-nothing response when core behaviors fail. The predator's final laugh isn't madness. It is the sound of a mind, choosing psychological coherence over physical survival. In its distorted worldview, destruction maintains honor while capture would destroy identity. This reveals the terrifying truth about the predator species. They're not just hunters. They're psychologically dependent on hunting. Remove the hunt, and you remove their reason for existence. The technology, honor codes, and cultural traditions all serve one purpose: maintaining a psychological framework that validates their predatory nature. It wasn't madness. It was cold calculation, the logical endpoint of a mind that could only define itself through dominance. The predator's legacy extends far beyond a single jungle encounter. Its impact on human consciousness reveals uncomfortable truths about our own psychological evolution. We fear the predator not because it's alien, but because we recognize the hunter as mindset within ourselves, the part of human nature that society has worked to suppress through civilization and moral development. From an anthropological perspective, the predator represents what humans could have become if we had chosen a different evolutionary path. Instead of developing agriculture, art, and complex social structures, we could have remained apex predators, refining our hunting instincts rather than transcending them. The Yata show us a possible future where technological advancement serves predatory instincts rather than replacing them. The psychological impact on survivors, like Dutch, demonstrates how encounters with pure predatory intelligence change human consciousness. Post-traumatic stress in this context isn't just about surviving violence. It's about confronting the reality that somewhere in the universe, there are minds for which humans are nothing more than challenging prey. This knowledge fundamentally alters how survivors see humanity's place in the cosmic hierarchy. The predator's honor code, rather than making it more sympathetic, actually makes it more terrifying from a psychological standpoint. A mindless killer can be understood and potentially reasoned with, but the predator, as selective morality, reveals a sophisticated intelligence that has chosen predation as the highest form of existence. It is not evil in the human sense. It is something potentially worse, completely indifferent to human concepts of morality, while maintaining its own twisted ethical framework. Perhaps most disturbing is the implication that the predator species represents a successful evolutionary strategy. They've survived for millennia by perfecting rather than evolving beyond their predatory instincts. This suggests that our human path toward cooperation and civilization might not be inevitable, just one possible direction among many. Who are we to judge a species that has found purpose and meaning in the hunt, when our own history is filled with violence and domination? But perhaps it wasn't the last of its kind. The predator forces us to confront an uncomfortable question: what separates a civilized being from a sophisticated hunter? Perhaps the answer lies not in our technology or intelligence, but in our capacity to choose cooperation over domination. The jungle may be silent now, but somewhere among the stars, the hunt continues. And the most terrifying truth of all, we might be next on the list.